See, if you're on this page because you're looking for quick motivation, maybe you're looking for the little tips or tricks or the steps you need to do in order to achieve success, this page isn't for you. On this page, we go into in-depth concepts and actually help you do deep level identity change. We talk about your philosophy, how to apply it into your life, and how to actually start moving towards the good life that you know you've always wanted. If you're tired of watching shallow content that simply motivates you, you know what to do, you already have the motivation, but what you want to do is actually figure out why you can't seem to figure out the right path to go on, or what's the next direction you need to move in your life in order to start moving towards that goal you have, then this page is for you. I have a newsletter called The Next Chapter, where on a week-to-week basis, I send you a newsletter directly into your inbox, completely free, that's going to help you guys with actually practically building the good life. We've got concepts, philosophies, practical frameworks that you can apply in real time. We cover all things from health, wealth, and relationships. This isn't just little fluff content that you're going to apply to one aspect of your life, but this is going to transform your life entirely. And I guarantee you, after 12 months of being in the program, you're going to learn so much more, and you're going to be a completely different person that your friends and family are going to be amazed. So make sure to subscribe to that newsletter. Like I said, it's completely free. You don't always have the time to watch an in-depth video like this, but every single person can find 5 minutes in their day to go through a newsletter that's going to radically help them move forward in their life. So make sure to subscribe to that newsletter, and let's get into the video, guys. So I always tell you guys, the first step in order to build the life you want is you need to first start by refusing the life that you do not want. See, you can watch all the content in the world, and I used to do the same thing every single day, watching motivational videos, beginning to move forward in my life, but then losing momentum and slowly backtracking to where I started. Then I'd find myself in this loop where I'm constantly watching video after video, and it's telling me exactly what to do. See, I never lacked a motivation problem. I just lacked a reason why I don't know which direction to move towards in life. Didn't know my purpose, I didn't have values, I didn't have morals, and because of that, I couldn't clearly distinguish which path was actually for me. See, the very first step in order for me to start taking my life seriously, I had to start by refusing the life that I do not want. I have to start looking at my situation in life right now, and I have to say, I'm sick and tired of where I am in life. It's only when you get to a point that you're actually tired of where you're at can you begin to move forward. So if you're watching this video and you're truly ready to actually start transforming your life, we're going to be talking about creativity and how you can start becoming a more creative person when it comes to discovering where you should be going with your life. So these are going to be concepts that you can also apply if you're already existing in business, whether that's sales, whether that's tech, whether that's some sort of science-based profession or career that you're in. Creativity is the fundamental skill you need to develop in order to actually increase your wealth and increase your position in this world. And I'm going to be telling you why in this video, so keep watching. Let's go, guys. So let me tell you guys that creativity can't be forced. I used to be an aspiring musician, a rapper to be specific, and one of the processes you need to do in order to be a musician is you need to write down your songs. You need to write down the lyrics and everything that you're going to be saying in the song. And in order to do that, you need to create a concept, a story, a theme, a presentation, an idea, all sorts of different moving aspects that go into creating a song. And for the most part, I would struggle with coming up with concepts all the time. So what I would usually do is I would listen to other songs and get a little bit of inspiration from that, and then know the exact structure of creating a song. But really, in order to create an effective song, one that really resonates with your audience, you need to create something that really resonates with you. So you start off with yourself before you can actually present an idea out into the world. And that sort of inspired this video today, because it made me realize that most of our ideas can't be forced. See, if you're stuck in a position where maybe you're trying to figure out which path to go down, you're quite a creative person like myself, but you don't actually know which path speaks to you. Creativity is something that's been very important to you as far as you can remember, but for whatever reason, you can't seem to come up with an idea, whether it's for business, whether it's for an idea you want to apply into your business that's going to help basically project you forward. See, creativity is something that's pulled towards you. What you need to do is you need to understand yourself, you need to understand your interests, the things that already you're attracted to, and then from there you can sort of inspire this creativity from you. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. Let's go. See, most ideas in this world are not original. See, the actual creation of an idea isn't original, but the execution of an idea can be original. It's the way in which you take a concept that's already existing, an idea, a belief, some sort of way of thinking, and you basically apply it to what you're doing currently in your life now. So I'm going to give you an example. When I was back in school, we studied a range of different subjects: English, math, science. I'm sure you guys know the list of them: history, geography, about different parts of the world, etc., etc. But my favorite subject in the world was media. Now, for those of you who don't know what media was basically the subject where you study things like television, print-based media like magazines, newspapers, and also things like advertisement, music videos, basically media that you see online, that you see on the TV, all sorts of media. And there was a wide range of different medias that we used to study throughout the course of me studying this in school. Now, what was very interesting to me about media wasn't necessarily because it showed me the things that I was already watching and basically helped me to understand how I could get into that industry. So for example, if you're getting into media, maybe your initial reason for getting into media was you want to be a journalist, a TV presenter, some sort of figure or career that you know is on TV, you want to move in that direction. Or like me, if you want to be a musician, a music video, you want to learn about how music videos work, how they're budgeted, etc., etc., etc. Media was a lot more than that when I was in school. Media was a lot of theory. I studied media theory. So we did a lot of practical stuff. But before we even got the practical stuff, we had to learn the theory. We had to understand the codes and conventions of television, print-based media, and of course, cinema, music videos, advertisements. And what was really interesting about media is we would be watching an advert. Let's say it's a L'Oreal advert on a skincare routine. What would happen is the teacher would first start off by getting us to watch the entire advert from start to finish, right? And afterwards, what she would do is she would actually give us a critical breakdown of what we just watched, why it works, why the company has done what they've done, and how it actually has a direct effect on us. And this was a theme she did with all sorts of media that we watched. And I remember when we was watching advertisements on skincare-based products, she would first start off by talking about the person they use in the advertisement. It would always be an aspirational person. So if you've ever watched like a L'Oreal advert, you typically see that, you know, they use maybe beautiful women with hair, glowing skin, and these are the people that represent the brand. Now, why do they do that psychologically? Well, of course, if you've got someone that you aspire to look like on the screen, then the people watching it are going to think, well, if I buy that product, it's going to help me move towards that goal of looking like this person that I see on the screen. You might consciously believe it or you might subconsciously believe it. See, a lot of you might be thinking, oh, Tino, when I watch a skincare routine, I don't think to myself that I'm going to look like the person I'm seeing on the TV, but it's almost subconscious. We associate the product with the person that we're seeing on the screen. So what essentially my media teacher was doing is she was teaching me human psychology and human nature, but applying it to media. So what you end up seeing is that the people who are in the media industry, of whatever lane they've decided to go down, they weren't just experts at practically creating the advert, but what they were an expert in doing is understanding human psychology, how to sell it to you guys, how to present the product in a way that's going to attract the audience that they want. So then what you end up seeing is media is a combination of human psychology and creativity. The creative part is the actual presentation of the advertisement, right? But it's also the ability to apply human psychology into it. See, this is what I mean about ideas don't necessarily have to be original, but the execution of an idea can make that particular thing you're doing creative, because it's the execution of the idea that's actually the creativity part of it. So what ends up happening now is that you've got an advertisement where most likely the people who have put this thing together have really got a deep understanding of human psychology. They've studied people, they've studied what they react to, their emotional impulses, and what they're doing is they're applying that in a creative way by creating a presentation on the screen that is going to naturally grab your attention first of all. It's going to pull you in and it's going to get you to invest. Now, you might be thinking, of course, it's easy to understand in a TV aspect, but Let's look at something like print-based media, a book, a magazine, a newspaper. Everything from the headline, the first things that you see on the first page, the subject of the book, the storytelling, all of this is creative in the way it's presented to you, but it's also got aspects of human psychology, studying history, studying people behavior in order to apply it into your life. The idea itself may not even be original, right? If you write a book and it's, I don't know, fiction book where basically it's a storytelling book about wolves and vampires or something like that, a concept that's been used historically. You might look at the idea of Dracula as an inspiration, but the execution of the idea of wolves and vampires, you begin to tap into your background. What are the subjects that you are interested in? History, maybe, for example, maybe you look at the history of your country and you create a vampire character that grew up in your particular town. And now you've actually taken an idea from Dracula, but you've executed it in a different way. And this is the way in which creativity works across the board. See, a lot of self-help content that you see online, sort of in my journey in taking in different concepts now, I've figured out that most of this stuff is mentioned in very, very old texts, things like the Bible. A lot of the concepts we hear for self-improvement, if you read the book of Proverbs in the Bible, a lot of this was said centuries ago. But the presentation of the idea has been changed in so many ways. You think of books like Think and Grow Rich, Robert Greene, one of my favorite authors, The Laws of Human Nature. What they're doing is they're looking at historical books that have already been written, looking at the idea, but executing it in a different way. Now, what does this have to do with you guys? Now, what you need to start understanding is that you're never going to come up with a path that's truly that creative that nobody else in the world has come up with it. What you need to start doing is you need to start looking at the things in your life and the interests you have that inspire you already. For me, it was media growing up in school. This was before I even thought of YouTube or anything like that. I always thought media interested me. I watch television, I watch music videos on TV. It's something that I'm always fascinated by. Well, what's the best subject to study? Media. That's an application, right? When I started studying media, I started learning about human psychology, how the music videos are actually able to get us to actually look up to the artists, how it makes them aspirational, how it makes us put them on a pedestal. And that's when I started to get really fascinated with human psychology and the way in which the world actually works. Once I could understand the concepts of music video, that's when now the executing of doing a music video was a lot more easier. Because now I understood exactly what makes one work, what are the different approaches I could do. And what I was doing is I would come up with my own idea that was maybe inspired by a music video I've seen, but I would look into what I could do around me and how I could execute the idea in a unique way that makes me stand out. Whether you're in a career path that's basically all tech-based, for example, every single business you see started off as an invention. Apple is a creative company before it's a practical company, right? Steve Jobs had to come up with the idea of the iPhone, the concept. Then he applied the practical things that are going to help execute that idea. But it started off with that inspiration. See, the economy we work in, whatever country you live in, it's basically, its success is determined by the people who come up with new inventions, new creations in society that create employment opportunities, that solve problems people already have, and much more things. Creativity, no matter how you look at it, is the foundation of society. You see it in the Bible. The first thing God did was create the world, the 7 days, things like that. Whether you're a religious believer or not, creativity, we can all agree, it's something very, very important in this world. Now, throughout my videos, I always talk about the skills you need to develop in order to become the sort of person who lives the life that you want. And I don't talk about the practical skills. We'll get into that further down the line, right? But this is the foundation. We need to build the foundation. There are certain skills you need to develop before you even begin to build the practical skills. See, one thing Steve Jobs had is he was a very creative person in order for him to even come up with the idea of Apple. Now, creativity is a skill that you can actually build. How do you build creativity in your life? The next video I make is going to teach you that exactly how you can begin coming up with unique ideas. But what I'm trying to get you to understand in this video is the importance of creativity. Now, creativity is one of those skills that you can develop over time. Some of us inherently have it. We always come up with unique ideas. But I found recently in my life for these videos, there's a lot of things that I do in order to inspire the topics I'm going to be speaking about. There's things I do and I feed into my brain that are going to stimulate creative ideas all the time. And there's things I physically do as well, which give me the energy to come up with creative ideas. But first of all, you need to understand the importance of creativity. And rather than looking at it as a concept, look at it as a skill that you need to build. If you're currently a business owner, for example, you get to a part in your business where basically the revenue has basically started to stagnate. You're trying to increase profit. You're trying to basically scale your business further. What you're going to need to do is start coming up with unique ways to basically help your business develop from where it currently is to an even higher level. Creativity is important to do that. See, when you're stuck in this loop of constantly being on the hamster wheel, doing the things you need to do to pay the bills, you pretty much fail to make time to have creative thoughts. And if you don't have creative thoughts, then how are you ever going to build the life that you want? Because like I said to you earlier, the life that you want requires you to be creative. And that's why I'm emphasizing it so much in my video. See, for a very long time, I used to think that creativity itself is just like the people in the world who are artists, the Da Vinci's, maybe like the Michael Jacksons, the creative pop stars, Martin Scorsese's. But what I've realized is creativity is in every single business that you work in. I work in sales currently. I'm starting my journey now on YouTube to help you guys become the sort of person you want to be and develop a new identity, reinvent yourself. But when I got into sales at first, it was pretty much a very much repetitive job. You're cold calling people, you're saying the same things. When my sales started to scale up is when I started to be creative with the way in which I was approaching customers. Trying out different ideas, trying out different things that I'm saying. This is when the money started to go up. And no matter what you're doing in life right now, when you add creativity into your life, there's things in your life that are going to radically change. Because now you're thinking outside of the box. You might be getting inspiration from an already existing idea, but you're applying it and executing the idea in a unique way to your circumstances. That is creativity. Similar to the example I gave you with media earlier. You're looking at human psychology, why it works, but then what you're actually doing is you're executing it within the music video that you're working on, or the advertisement, or the book that you're writing. It isn't just coming up with the idea you're going to write about or film. It's the execution of the idea that's the most creative part of the whole process. So you can take an idea already existing and represent it in 100 different ways, and every single way you execute it is going to be considered a unique creative way of doing it, even though it's all stemming from the same idea. See, in this world, in order for you to become the sort of person you want to be, live the good life, wealth, health, relationships, have everything you want, what you need is the creativity of a Michael Jackson, but you need the strategic mind of a Michael Corleone. You need to dream like an artist, but move like a mastermind. You need to plan your life the way in which somebody in the mafia plans a hit. Every single detail needs to be accounted for. You need to create systems. You need to create a creative process that's going to help you develop new ideas, but you need to understand, first of all, the importance of creativity. See, if you're stuck in your life and you don't know which direction to go in, that's because you're not being creative with your thought process. Start changing that and you're going to start seeing different changes in your life. You're going to start coming up with ideas. You're going to start actually knowing where you need to be headed in your life. See, the way in which the world works is we're put in this machine where we're constantly doing the same things over and over again. Our Mondays look like our Tuesdays like our Wednesdays, etc., etc. The only way we're going to change that is we need to think outside the box and get creative with our approach to life. It's the only way that it makes life worth living. In the next video, I'm going to keep this one short. We're going to be talking about different ways you can start to actually inspire the creativity in your life. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Subscribe also to the newsletter below. In a lot of these videos, I do rants because, of course, I'm developing my ability to speak on camera. Don't expect me to be a super professional expert that's going to break down these concepts like a professional psychologist. What I'm here to do is inspire your thinking process. Begin to get you doing what you used to do as a child, which was use your imagination. Come up with solutions yourself. In the next video, we'll be talking about what you need to do in order to inspire this creative process. Keep on this journey. We are reinventing you one day at a time. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. My name's Tino. I'll see you soon.